Well, what kind of future trends can we expect that may affect you and me who are over 65? How is our future affected when we are becoming the largest demographic in the world? What trends are expected when entrepreneurs finally become aware of a group of people that had probably become invisible and are now visible? Hi, I'm Gail Jervis, and welcome to Life Beyond 65. In 2020, Mauro Guillén, a sociologist and political economist, wrote the book 2030, How Today's Biggest Trends Will Collide and Reshape the Future of Everything. Well, in today's episode, I wanted to share with you some of the trends that he's predicting for our generation. And some of those trends are really encouraging. But first of all, I should mention the unsettling news that this author begins with in his book. He starts giving many examples of companies who do not know how to approach an older generation living and spending more money than any other date and time. In a 2016 article in Forbes, the author wrote that boomer bashing is in fashion. Who knew? Apparently, young people want to blame us for everything from the financial crisis and climate change to an unpredictable economy. And something else he predicts is how Boston Consulting Group estimates that only 1 in 7 companies is prepared for our growth in numbers. Part of the problem is that most technology, marketing and sales departments are populated by young people who are completely unaware of us. But those trends look like they're going to change. Now, because even though this author, Mauro Guillén, begins with those concerns, how the older population is being ignored or even reviled, he also makes some really interesting predictions that include more positive trends for our aging population. One, by 2018, Forbes dubbed the aging population a blessing for business. The Economist agrees, stating that older consumers will reshape the business landscape. 2, so often as we age, we fear that we'll become invisible. But by 2030, we will definitely be visible to the rest of society. In China, roughly 54,000 people celebrate their 60th birthday every day. In the United States, 12,000 people celebrate their 60th birthday every day. But take in the world, and there are 210,000 people celebrating their 60th birthday every day. Mauro Guillén claims that by 2030, the number of people in this age group worldwide will be about 1.4 billion, up from 1 billion today. The U.S. will have 14 million more for a total of 90 million. Mexicans, 6 million more. The United Kingdom, 3 million more. India, 50 million more. China, a whopping 113 million more. Even undeveloped countries will witness huge increases. For instance, Bangladesh will jump from 13 million to 21 million people above the age of 60. There's just too many of us for us to be ignored. Third trend, entrepreneurs need to be made aware that a large number of people over 65 have extra discretionary spending. And that extra money, of course, though, is impacted by the healthcare in various countries. So that in Europe or Canada, Japan, the proportion of our discretionary spending is up to 12% higher than in the United States due to lower out-of-pocket health costs. Mauro Guillén gives a very sobering fact when he explains that the average senior above 65 in the United States allocates at least 14% of spending to health care, while in the United Kingdom, it's less than $3. And that, of course, enables British seniors to spend twice as much on things such as clothing, entertainment, and travel. And this makes people who own stores very happy. They're noticing the older people. Fourth trend, you'll love the next trend. By 2030, the author states boldly that because of so many breakthroughs in medicine, nutrition, biotechnology, and other fields, the average 70-year-old will be like today's average 50-year-old. In a future episode, I'll be sharing with you some amazing reports that with a few tweaks, not in our lifestyle, but in our attitude about aging, we can gain another 7.5 years of life. And 5, more good news. Some entrepreneurs are already becoming aware of us, and they want to better understand our needs. For example, Wired Magazine and Pfizer, one of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies, they're working together to envision what getting old will mean in the future. And Pfizer's head of medical strategy says, while there are still many uncertainties on the aging horizon, many of us can take steps now to make sure that old age won't just mean living long, but living well. 6th trend, Mauro Guillén and many others are predicting that more and more people over 65 will become entrepreneurs themselves. It makes sense that as we live longer, we may choose to work longer. Also, as many older professionals are more financially stable, they may use their experiences to just create a side hustle or even just start another full-time business. Often, they'll already have a large network of contacts from their last career to make launching that new business easier and more successful. I also found interesting that when the author mentioned something called TaskRabbit, and it's a digital collaborative platform. People choose tasks posted by companies from all over the world. If you complete the job quickly and accurately, apparently your pay increases. In 2018, there were 20 million people performing jobs on such digital platforms as TaskRabbit. And by 22, there were 40 million workers. You mentioned that this platform is popular with people of all ages as they find tasks that they have experience in doing. And so as our numbers increase and the younger population decreases, he predicts there'll be more and more opportunities for older job workers, and we just can decide from such platforms as to how much work we actually want to do. 7th trend. Gradually, more entrepreneurs will become aware of people older than 65, and most importantly, become aware that we cannot be compartmentalized into ages categories. As Guillén states, today's 50 is not our parents' 50. Number 8, as more entrepreneurs may become aware of our demographic, they also will gradually become aware of what we want and what we need. For example, Maria Henke, a senior associate dean at the School of Gerontology at the University of Southern California, points out, seniors are a tough crowd. Puffery is wasted on them. They've seen it all when it comes to advertising. After all, if you're a baby boomer born between 1944 and 1964, imagine all the revolutions in advertising that you and I have witnessed, from radio jingles to viral marketing, and fatigue sets in, saying, all right, do I really need all this? So what does Mauro Guillén think that we will want and need? Well, 1, we will prefer not to replace durable goods as frequently as younger people do, either due to our finances or just because our interests have changed. Those things aren't as important to us, having the latest model. Number 2, the second involves functionally designing products that anticipate declines in health or physical skills or cognitive abilities in the people who use them. We may want appliances that are considered as some other older people's needs. He gives examples how front-loading washing machines may be energy efficient, but they can require more bending if it hasn't been built on top of a stand. I can attest to that. Just before my hip replacement, I was having a hard time bending, and we have one of those machines, and it's not on a stand, and I was in misery. And half the time my husband would just do it because it was just so hard for me to do. And another suggestion, he suggests that knobs should be easier to grip. Well, any of us with arthritis in our hands would say, yes, we need things easier to work with. Icons, text display, more legible to be aware of any vision challenges and arthritic challenges. I was so happy to discover slip-on running shoes before I had my hip replacement surgery. No bending was required as I easily slipped my foot into my checkers shoes and just as easily slipped my foot out of the shoe. Now, this has been a recent product that anticipated a need, because you will see these slip-on shoes in so many shoe stores now. Even my grandson who got excited by it, and he asked for that kind of pair of shoes. Not with Velcro. You just slip your shoe in and slip your shoe out. Slip your foot out. Or third trend. Rather than purchasing certain products, entrepreneurs may begin leasing items to us. This would enable consumers to switch to a new product every few years, and would be more financially attractive to people who don't want to invest in the price of the product. 4, certainly as our numbers increase, healthcare, home care, assisted living, and other similar service industries, well, it's going to be huge in 2030. My own province is already investing billions to update nursing homes, and even more importantly, they are investing billions to ensure that more of us can stay in our own homes as long as possible. 5th trend, it seems like the number one goal is seniors who have that discretionary spending. What do we do with it? We often do more traveling. And that's certainly in keeping with what Mauro Guillén states when he says, today's seniors are more willing to spend their money on travel than any previous generation because they are healthier and in better physical shape. Number 6, I tend to do most of my shopping online. But anyways, I found it interesting that Guillén mentions that data from Nielsen shows that seniors like to visit all kinds of stores, especially grocery stores, much more frequently than other age groups. Now, I would never have guessed that. I would have said younger age groups, but what do I know about shoppers? Obviously, as advertisers and service people become aware of this fact, we will most likely be given more and more preferential treatment. They might even have more clothing or items that we would be more interested in looking at and buying. Certainly in grocery stores, we're seeing more and more meals that are packaged for 1 or 2 people. It'll increase. And number 7, there are also trends that are reassuring for those people living in senior communities. For example, the author mentions Rendeavor. It's a startup focused on developing virtual reality applications to help seniors overcome their sense of isolation. They develop VR experiences specifically for elder care residents who are no longer able to venture outside by themselves and explore the world. But in senior living communities, they can have 6 residents wearing headsets, and they're all experiencing the same thing at the same time. They have a networking technology that allows them to share these group experiences together. They got something to talk about together. Japan leads the world in robotics for seniors because they have an acute shortage of people working with seniors. In most countries, including Canada and the United States, about 90% of paid senior care is mainly done by immigrants. By 2025, Japan doesn't have the immigrants. They will need an additional 1 million nurses that the country currently doesn't have. Therefore, companies like Toyota assess the need and have now developed human support robot prototypes. They can retrieve medication, they can bring a glass of water, they can draw the curtains by voice command. Also, there is Paro. He's a robotic seal which provides comfort to patients who are confined to bed. And patients report reductions in anxiety and depression, and those suffering from dementia interacting with this robotic seal. It has discouraged people with dementia from wandering away from their monitored areas. It's currently being used in as many as 30 countries. Denmark has Paras in 80% of their state-run nursing homes, while the US and Canada lags behind us in robotics. Well, the United States, they have been trying out other things. There's something called LEQ. It's a voice-enabled digital assistance, and they've been having some success with it. And this Brookdale robot encourages seniors to be active through online games, video chats, TED Talks, and other social activities. Seniors who interact with robots appear to be less depressed and more engaged Really amazing new technology. And number 8, as entrepreneurs begin to break down their ageist assumptions and actually learn who we really are, they'll discover that even older adults are what? Tech savvy. For example, in 2018, people older than 50 spent $140 billion on technology. By 2050, that number is expected to increase to $645 billion. No longer will we hear, oh, she's too old to learn that technology, isn't she? What I have mainly gained from reading about the trends for what they call so-called gray consumers, that's us, but we are a growing demographic, and we could be quite influential in all areas of society, because by 2050, we will be expanding to 157 million people. In 2018, 56 cents of every dollar was spent by someone 50 or older. But by 2050, it will increase to 61 cents. Well, with these kinds of numbers, we could in effect drive economic growth, innovation, and never feel like we are invisible and worthless. In fact, we will be a valued resource. By the way, please leave your comments below about how you're feeling about all these technological changes and any of the new trends that should be occurring, and whether you've heard of even other trends that might be happening for those of us who are older. And if you subscribe to this channel, would you please let me know in the comments below? I would just like to thank you. Now, I'd like to end this episode by sharing a humorous conversation between a 70-year-old man and a 24-year-old woman from the movie The Intern. Now, if you haven't watched the movie The Intern, I think you might enjoy it. But anyways, it starts with this older man, Ben Whitaker. He's going to go talk to the receptionist in this office building. He says, "I'm Ben Whitaker. I've got an appointment with Miss Austin." And Becky responds, "Oh, I thought she was meeting with her new intern." "That's me." "How old are you?" 70. "You?" "I'm 24. I know I look older. It's the job. It ages you." "Oh, which won't be great in your case." "Sorry." See you to the next time.